Okay, we're going to talk today about identity and how it can be awesomely self-hosted. I am David Phillips. This is Homin Luo.
Yeah, I'm Homin. This is David. We're the core initiator, also the contributor for Next.ID.
And we're going to tell you all about it. So first, we're going to give you a little bit of orientation about where we are and where we're going. So we're going to talk through identity, past, present, and into the cyber future. Then we're going to talk a little bit about identifiers and how they're different than identities. And then we're going to talk about supercharging UX with sovereign identities towards the end, and how these things can actually be incredibly powerful primitives to build amazing experiences for regular people in and out of Web3. So historically, we have credentials coming from institutions. These things are like passports or credit institutions aggregating your information. Both of these are kind of black boxes, and we don't really know what they consider or how they work. So as we start to imagine what the future can look like, we come to the point of believing that identity can be and should be sovereign, portable, and secure. Now, Web2 identifiers today, they allow you to do certain things, like ride airplanes, or access token-gated watering holes, aka bars. And they even allow you to do things if you have a lot of data attached to them, like get a mortgage. So we have driver's license, we have emails, we have phone numbers, and these things kind of persist in the analog world, and they persist in Web3 as well, online. But what we see is tech is still eating the world. Just in the last year, 8% more minutes were spent online by the average person. And this is a trend that's been going and sustained for the last 15 years. So question becomes, how might we, at the end of the day, create amazing experiences for our holistic digital selves in a similar or even better way than we've created experience for our analog selves? So we've started this Web3 revolution where we have these trustless consensus layers that are really powerful. And we have wallets that store a lot of our data and information and history. And Web2, we have platforms that also really store your history. But what we find is those are identifiers. So we have phone numbers, we have emails, we have wallet addresses. And these things are pieces of yourself. But they never paint a whole picture, and they're not so portable. So what we start to imagine is how can the world look? How can an experience look for a person as they create a holistic digital self by weaving these different identifiers, these different components of self from Web2, like phone numbers and emails, like Twitter profiles, like blogs, through Web3, like DApp usage and DGen scores, and wallet addresses or ENS handles, and all the associated data. How do we weave those together into a whole person and a digital identity that is sovereign, portable, and secure? So I'd like to introduce now Next.ID identity graph, and this is our first step towards this future, where we are able, in a decentralized and trustless way, and permissionless way, to weave a network of your identity, to take your Twitter profile, to take your Ethereum addresses, to take your Solana addresses soon, and have those become an entity that you own, that you control, and that you can bring with you anywhere you go online. So this is what we call a DID-based protocol, and many of you probably know what DIDs are, but many of us don't, because they are our escape vector from building exclusively on consensus layer Web3 technologies. But they're called decentralized identifiers, and they're self-issued key pairs that establish ownership or control of an identity. So if I make my avatar with the Next.ID protocol, and I say I want something to be a part of my identity, A DID, or decentralized identifier, that key pair, is the way that we're with asymmetric elliptic curve encryption able to create that bond, and also able to revoke that bond. One quick thing. Because these are basically key pairs, they don't necessarily need to be stored or experienced on blockchain, so they can be really performant. And they're also chain agnostic. So we can actually issue a DID as a user to basically anything, which Homin will show you in a little bit, can be pretty exciting and pretty useful. So how can an identity graph be different than a wallet? And are they the same? And there's a couple key differences to highlight, and one is that wallets belong to specific ecosystems, usually. And when we have a wallet, there's a lot of things that are associated with it, usually money. And we started to build infrastructure and ecosystems where we use our bank keys to use regular apps, which I think in hindsight we'll look back on as kind of crazy. So with an identity layer and with subkeys and things like that, we're able to step away, just as a little bit of teaser from that norm. And then we also really heavily value and consider privacy when designing this. And so we conceptualize this with an identity iceberg, or a data iceberg. There's what's above the waterline, that would be open platforms that are open data, so you'd want that part of your public persona. And there's also what's below the waterline that would require special authorized access from users. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my great friend Homin, and he's going to give you some really cool examples and show you how these things can actually be built and used.
So thanks, David, and how we can help. So basically, David told me you really should speak slowly. So yeah, that's why I'm with my phone. I'm just want to make sure I speak each of the words correctly. And thanks, David. Based on all the visions we have, so we started to build our DID infra, which called Next.ID, with some features we want to see. So first thing is about reputation portability, multi-chain support identity, and no centralized API dependency, and private and secure. We also want to bridge Web2 to Web3 for users. So we have the ProofService. So we have the ProofService. This is an identity creation authentication service, and this is a verified connection stored in the ProofService, can be publicly verified in a decentralized manner. And it provides an authentication protocol for developers to onboard Web2 users to Web3. And this is a multi-chain solution to onboard users to new chains. You know, there are so many chains, and Aptos, Sui are going to launch recently. So it's also privacy insured binding. And based on all this we have, so this is how everything is cryptographically secured bindings across Web2 and Web3 identifiers. Like you can see, this is an avatar, and this is all the interactions and signature between the Ethereum. This is Web3, your EVM compatible wallets, and in the future it will be more like the wallets on the different chains. And those are Twitter and Facebook, and more. Those are the Web2 platforms. I think the Bluebird is just cracked because I don't know what's wrong with the picture, but you know, this is Bluebird. So based on this, this is a cryptographically secured binding. So this is a really good way we can just ignore all the centralized solution like Google OAuth or Twitter OAuth. So this is like no centralized API dependency solution. And this is our tech stack. And so proof chain allows the blockchain-like model to retain data integrity using cryptography and the private public key pair system. Only users with the right private keys can just add the data in each block. So we just store all the binding information, and so in our RWave or in the Amazon Aurora, so it's all the IPFS solution. Again, I don't know why all the icons just cracked, but It's Bluebird, so it's for Web2 platforms and Web3 platforms. All can just connect together, and basically this is a flow we can do. And recently we reached amount of numbers is really great. It's called 29.8 million times in 1 week, from February 3rd to February 10th. And we also have the question, so when our DID infra is ready, right, we have the Next.ID avatar connect with all the identities you have. So what's the next? So we're thinking after the DID is ready, so infra is ready, the identity graph and the social graph is already here, so it follows. So what can identity graph enable? So the social graph across the Web2 to Web3, multi-chain social graph, then the credit score, the reputation for DeFi will be followed. Then this is a relation service. This is open social and identity graph. The identity graph database connects user social relations and interaction to create the personalized reputation, and serves both as a development API for querying and cross-platform support SDK. And the coolest part is we want to be doing analytics-like community-based platform for users to play around this heterogeneous social graph. So this is the coolest part, because we want to be an open social and identity graph. So this is what does it look like. And this is the scalable DID data framework to power the next-gen social graph. You can see there are different colors. So you can imagine all the white one are the avatars, and all the blue one and the purple one are Web2 interactions and Web3 interactions. When this happens, no matter on-chain interactions with DeFi, with dApps, with any decentralized social, will just be connected here. And all the Web2, we can just, so we are trying to just crawling and get all the data, down to the, from Web2 down to the Web3. So when this happens, this will be the social graph, and this will be very valuable for anyone. Next, please. Yeah, so this is how does it look like. So avatar A is a user A, avatar B is a user B. So all the interactions with, let me say, the tolerability. So all the follows, all the retweets, all the replies, all the follows, all the likes will just, all the interaction will be just stored in one place, because Twitter is an open solution, as an open Web2 solution. But all the data is just stored in Twitter, because Twitter want to monetize from all the social graph. We want to be Web3, so we want to be Web3 open social graph in the future, like USDC interactions, Uniswap interactions. In the future, maybe Forecaster or Lens interaction will be just stored in one place. So everything within one user's interactions will be just stored in our graph database. So with our graph database, you can query. You can use GraphQL as a query, and you can just do something like the recommendation algorithm, and about the on-chain credit score, reputation. Everything will just be happening here. So I want to give you guys a front-end demo. So we are basically a DID infra and protocol. So I want to show you how does it look like for our dApps to use us as the profiling solution and the SDK. This is pretty small. This looks good. So yeah, I'm borrowing Suji and Ethereum. I'm borrowing Suji's avatar and identities here. So I want to show you what does it look like. So we can visual it here. So it's all here. You can see this is from all data sources like Next.ID, Keybase, and Lens. All these things will just be connected here. And you can see this is a Next.ID avatar, and this is the Suji's wallet results with Suji and Ethereum in Nest. It's pretty cool because everything resolved with the wallet and Next.ID and Keybase, and also Lens will be just shown here. Also, for some wallets, when they want us to index some wallet address, want to send money, this will be just to verify. This is a real person. This is a legit person. You want to send the money. It's like double check, and you will be just secure your funding. And yeah, this is really exciting things we want to show. So this is all the on-chain like interactions on the on-chain assets. We can just you can just follow it with this wallet address. So this is an insider preview. We have this staging.web5.bio. So you guys can try it here. We also have UD, ENS, Lens, and many more domains will follow. So this is our solution to just get everything together in one place. This is the aggregation for the Next.ID avatar. So for this part, when we have all those exciting features and product, so we're thinking about furthermore like data ownership and controlled by the DID. This is more like the Web3's ideology and how we also why we want to do this at this stage. So the instant personalization, because data travels with user across a platform. Like Facebook is also enabling the WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook cross messaging recently. So before it's just a WhatsApp to WhatsApp, Instagram to Instagram. So even the Web2 companies, they are just doing the same thing. They want their data could just cross-platform, cross apps, could just the data could just follow with his users, not follow with the Facebook. And there's a strong advantage for devs to competing against platforms with centralized data modes. And so now we have this CoreService recently launched. So this is a private cloud controlled by the DID. Users can host their data with computational power on the cloud, and data and services access controlled by DID subkeys. Tiered data access for dApps with users' permission. So this is a really exciting thing. We're going to launch, like give more services, give more portability and flexibility, compatibility in the future for users. So we're imagining, so for now, all the self-hosted service is really hard. You need to write some commands. You need to use Google Cloud or AWS to do all these things, or even you want to like host your data at your home. You need to get a NAS. You need to get a maybe Raspberry Pi to do everything. But we're imagining we can have a one-click dashboard, like a CoreService store. So all the support self-hosted service from smart home to Mastodon can just be hosted by your own service. So all of your data is just in your own server. So we are also talking to IoTech. This is just an example how we can do like IoTech smart devices control solution could be deployed on CoreService and controlled by Next.ID subkeys. We enable the future smart home data could be controlled and stored privately and securely. So this is one of the example we want to give, and maybe in the future we can do Mastodon instance host and many more follows. So our services are ProofService, RelationService, and CoreService. Again, this is identity creation and authentication, open social graph, and a private cloud controlled by the DID. Oh, so I'm sorry to all our partners. I don't know why it's all the pictures just broken, but yeah, we have many protocols and many partners just integrated with us. Like UD, Cloudland, recently we just finished the integration, and XMTP, we're going to finish the integration. So thanks everyone, and thanks David.
Thank you, Homin, thank you. We do have 5 minutes for questions if anyone wants to ask you, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
The mics are not long, so speak loudly.
Yeah. So I have some questions around like privacy. So in one.
And your name?
Okay, I'm Kai.
Kai.
Yeah. So I have some questions around privacy. So in one of the slides, you show like this social graph between different avatars. There are off-chain interactions like Facebook, Twitter, and on-chain interactions. So who has this global view of this social?
Yeah. So we design it today, the above the iceberg parts, like for example, your Twitter presence or maybe a Substack blog. We consider those part of an open data graph, and we believe that like as it becomes portable with you in a sovereign way, like you can unbind those things and disconnect those and just dissociate from those identifiers at any point. But we, for the above the iceberg part, we focus entirely on data that is already public and open. Yeah, thank you, Kai. Follow-up, sure.
So I guess like for those off-chain private interactions, so those are like private by default. Does that mean?
If you don't want it public, it's not going to end up public. Yeah, and that's part of the core value of the design, with it being, simple enough to be useful and scalable, but also sovereign to the point of having that control.
Yeah, also we are preparing some new features like ZK solution enabled with the DID, and many more follows with like signing with your wallet and can just approve your wallet assets without double like signing with your wallet. So this will be the like identity and the wallet segregation. That is also our vision, like how we can just use ID, like decentralized ID, not directly use wallets to connect or sync with, like sign with some unsecured spam website.
Yeah, thank you, Kai. Okay. Great question. Any other questions? With the big curly hair. Yes.
Question. Thank you for the presentation. Do you have a presence on the Fediverse?
Not yet.
Oh, we do.
We do?
Well,
We have a presentation about Fediverse later.
I see just Twitter handle, that's why I asked.
yeah, but we do have go ahead. It's
Working
on
on it.
GitHub. Yeah, no, it's on GitHub.
Oh.
We do have a.
We just posted to GitHub. Great. Oops.
Oh. Thank you so much for the presentation, guys. Can you talk about like the did method specific? So are you guys like creating a did method for all the social graphs, or how are you guys linking the different accounts with the original?
Linking the accounts with the original identifier, is that, okay.
Yeah, like what's the binding process?
Yeah, Homin, you want to talk about that?
This is based on the elliptic like cryptography ways. We just like doing the signature with Web2. We need to like tweet some public key, then we can just connect everything together.
And that's something we're also figuring out right now, is how we can adjust our schema or continue to adopt whatever most of the ecosystem is adopting. Because our biggest priority is not to create another walled garden like we see in Web2, but to maximize interoperability and transportability and transferability for all these things.
Yeah, for Web3, like wallets is going to be easier because this is all based on the signature. So when you have the signature verified with your avatar, so everything will just connected.
Yeah, and up next we do have the DID panel with ProofService and Polygon and some other really interesting players. So definitely stick around for that. Any other questions? I think we have time for one more.
I think Issa can add on.
Oh, Yeezy.
So let's welcome EC, our...
No, it's okay.
Yeezy is our
I think
brand.
his...
I just want to add up to
the shy person.
Yeah, because there are like a bunch of questions. So one is the Fediverse. We have supported Mastodon, but it's just like when you're proving your identity on Twitter, you're just doing something that only the owner of that account can do. So on Twitter, you just post your signed message or signed like public key on Twitter to show that you're the owner of the Twitter account, and then you sign it back. So we do this like double or bi-directional signatures or bi-directional proofs to show you have the ownership over both of accounts. And for specifically on Fediverse or Mastodon, you can do the same. You just you use your avatar's private key to sign your Mastodon handle, which is your handle at the Fediverse address or URL, and then you use the same account to post this signature to show you have the ownership of this account, and vice versa. I mean all these things or all these bindings are the same. You just need to prove you are the ownership of both, and then bidirectional linking enables you to say, hey, if I meet this guy on Fediverse, I have the confidence. You don't have to trust anybody. You trust the signatures. You trust the math. This guy is linked to this avatar, but this avatar is also linked to all the other accounts linked there. So yeah, that's
like we present. So there's no centralized API dependency. That is also our
Yeah, I mean-
one of the important thing we're doing this with.
yeah, this is like pure trustless. So we don't provide any trust because like we don't even want you to trust anyone because like there's a really core like concept in this like world. It's like trustless. We don't really want to provide trust because like we don't need you guys or we don't want you guys to trust Next.ID, to trust all the bindings on
Trust math, right?
Oh yeah, just okay.
Algorithm, trust
Math,
math.
signatures, or cryptography.
Yep.
Any other questions?
We have time for one more question. Yes, please.
So I used to work at Blue Protocol, and we were talking about Civic, Transmute, and all these other ones. OnePass, Microsoft, there's a decentralized foundation that founded, but there hasn't really been a ton of uptake because it's really easy to pull the data in. It's really hard to actually get really big platforms to actually adopt the tech and actually bring this out to beyond the couple million people that actually use it on an entire basis. So what's the plan there?
Yeah, what's different? Why should you care now? It's a great question. And I think it's very, very valid because we can build these things with nice ideals. We can build these things, with the right philosophies. But if they don't solve meaningful problems, they'll never get any traction. They'll never get any adoption. One of the reasons today we're seeing pretty rapid developer uptake is the power of the identity graph as a unit. Rather than just signing in or showing up to a new app with an email password or a public key, private key pair, a user can bring an entire graph. And so if you're a dev building a new app, that's a huge leg up competing against incumbent players with deep data moats, because now someone's brought with them passively, just by having an identity, brought with them an entire data set that's really rich and enables deep personalization from day zero. Again, it's a little bit harder in practice, but that's what we're seeing today as an immediate point of traction for us with a lot of new projects. And if you have any follow-ups, totally happy to answer those privately or publicly, because I think this is exactly the type of question we need to be fielding as an industry.
The only other follow-up would be, are you using W3C verifiable credentials, or have you done your own thing?
We are currently getting more and more plugged into W3C because, like I mentioned prior, interoperability is our number one priority in that area. So we will be definitely cross-compatible with those. We're not certain that we will adopt that with our data model at this point. But it's just uncertain.